What's good, everybody? It's your brother Mad Black, the most dangerous and the most toxic black man on the internet, and I am black up in your face again with some more pro black commentary. So, there's been some very interesting local news where I live at, and I live close to Nashville, Tennessee, and there's been a lot of ICE raids that have been going on here in and around Nashville, especially over if anyone knows, like Nolensville Pike, there's like a large immigrant community over there, not just Hispanic, but they got Indians, Middle Easterns, I think people from like Greece and you know just a bunch of people from different backgrounds and different countries kind of live on that long strip. There's a lot of people over there. There's even I've mentioned this before. There's like a bunch of like legal firms that help with immigration over there. So like if you're an immigrant and you're trying to get your citizenship, they have actually like naturally born people from those communities have set up law firms to help the people, get their citizenship, right? And help them with work papers and stuff like that. But ICE has been doing a lot of raids over there, and it has scared some of the other immigrants, illegal or not illegal, in the rest of Nashville, especially in the downtown area. And there's been a rumor going around that some of the immigrants that work at some of these like big downtown restaurants, like the Hard Rock Cafe, Kid Rock has a restaurant and a bar downtown. Who else? Jason Aldean. What's the other guy? I think Garth Brooks has a restaurant, has a bar down there as well. But a lot of the immigrant staff that they have working in the back of those bars, like doing the cleanup and cleaning the bathrooms and working in the kitchen. Some of those immigrants have not been showing up to work because they're afraid that ICE is going to show up and raid them and they're going to be deported. So very recently I saw that Kid Rock has been trying to deny these rumors, saying that, he said he doesn't have anything to do with the day-to-day operations of these places. They just basically have his name on it and he makes money off of it and licensing and whatnot. However, he said that he still supports Donald Trump and Donald Trump's efforts to get these criminal immigrants out of here and bring the right immigrants in. That was his response. Because the whole thing is people have been getting on him saying like, hey, you support Donald Trump and his immigration policies and deporting people and whatnot, but now your businesses are being hurt by Donald Trump's immigration and deportation policies. What do you got to say about that, right? So he's denying it. But once again, like I said, there have been lots of raids going on by ICE in the Nashville area. And here's the thing. I'm going to try to explain this as best I can to people who don't live here. This is something that I found about on the low from people who, like some black guys that I know who work security and people I know that, work in the downtown area. Here's what I found out is that a lot of those bars, like not so much the bars, but just like that area and that property, a lot of that stuff apparently is controlled by organized crime on the low. So organized crime has a big, I'm talking about like the actual mafia has control of a lot of that area, and that's why you know anytime something really crazy happens down there, especially in the downtown Broadway area, a lot of stuff gets covered up. An example of this is, I believe it was last year, a young man was found dead in the river. And apparently he was caught on film hanging out with his friends. He was visiting here, visiting some of his college buddies, and people saw him stumbling out of a bar, and he was stumbling out of there high or drunk or whatever. And later on, like I said, he was missing, and then they literally just found his body in the river. Now, the story is that he was so high and so drunk or whatever that he just happened to fall over into the river and drown. From the sources I've heard, like I said, some of the sources I have, I don't want to tell their name or anything, but like I said, some of the sources that work down there, they said like a lot of these young people that come to hang out and party in Nashville, especially a lot of young white ones, he went out there looking to buy some drugs, and some drug dealers got rid of him because either he didn't have the money or something, right? And because that happened, they didn't want too much scrutiny put on downtown Nashville because that will cause them to lose money because downtown Nashville is a big money maker. So the mob covered it up and just made it seem like this kid was just drunk, high, and he walked off a bridge, right? He wasn't thrown off, right? So that's what I'm saying. So I'm thinking even with this whole immigration and ICE thing, they're trying to do their best to keep the government and keep ICE out of there as far as like messing up their workers because they got a lot, and I mean a lot, of illegal immigrants and laborers. Like when I used to do Uber, that was a lot of the rides that I would do late at night is giving those Mexicans a ride home from work, right? So they'd be getting off around like 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, and I would pick them up and give them a ride home. So I know there's a lot of illegal immigrants down there because these people didn't even speak English barely. They knew how to use the Uber app, and that was about it. But when I talked to them, they barely spoke English. So there's a lot of that going on downtown. But I'm thinking because it is controlled by organized crime, I think that they're trying to do their best to keep the government out of there because they know that that's going to hurt their businesses. If you got workers just not showing up, and obviously they're not going to hire Americans because, Americans actually demand that you pay them properly. They can hire an immigrant and, pay him pennies and he'll accept that. But, an American or a young college student or whatever trying to get a job down there, he'll actually demand some real money, and they don't want to have to actually do that. But they also don't want ICE scaring away their workers because then they won't have anyone to wash the dishes or clean the toilets or whatever, right? So that's what I'm thinking is going on down here. But once again, this is another case of, MAGA mutants and people who support Donald Trump not thinking ahead of, Donald Trump's policies actually doing harm to their actual businesses. There have been so many of these white guys who are business owners or small business owners who have been screwed by Donald Trump's policies, whether it's the immigration or the tariffs or whatever, or just, workers, federal workers and stuff getting fired. So many of them are getting screwed over and losing money but like I said, they didn't think ahead. All they thought was they loved Donald Trump and his cult of personality. All they thought was, well, Donald Trump is for the white man and he's for white supremacy, so let's give him the vote. But now these fools have effed around and found out, and a lot of them are losing money in that regard. So that's what's going on so far, and I might do some more research into this, see if I can find out a little bit more about what's going on, especially in the downtown area. If I could, find some of the musicians or the black guys that work security, because usually they let me know what's been going on, especially very recently. Now, once again, it's funny to me because so much of this stuff has been going on, and both the whites and the immigrants have been hurt by these recent Donald Trump policies, but black folks are just having a good old time. Like I've done 2 black events already, and it's not even like fully summer yet. I'm going to do another one in the following month, and I see black people out and about having a good old time, and we're not being as hurt, at least not yet anyway, by these devils, even though they're trying to gin up support to hurt black people because of this whole fake ass black fatigue nonsense that they've made up all of a sudden. But black people are now thinking about these fools right now, and black people are seem to be thriving at this point, while everyone else is taking a hurting from the tangerine in the White House. So You folks can let me know how you feel about this in the comments section. I would love to hear your opinions on this story. And if you know anything about this, or if it's going on in your local community, like wherever you live, I know a lot of these towns in the South are dealing with this stuff, the same things that I'm dealing with here. Let me know in the comments section what your local area is dealing with Trump policies and how it's going bad for some of these folks out here. Anyway, Mad Black, and I will be back with my foot on the devil's back.